He once thought his life was over. On a cold morning, when the sun couldn't break through the thick fog, Thomas sat alone on a wooden park bench, the same bench he used to visit during lunch breaks just months ago, coffee in hand, typing up an email draft. Now there was no coffee, no emails, no job. Thomas had been a senior marketing executive at a major company in New York. For over 12 years, his life followed a familiar loop. Arrive at the office in the morning, return home in the evening, spend weekends with his family. But then everything changed. The company restructured, and he was among the first to be laid off. At first, he thought he'd find another job in a few weeks. But weeks turned into months. Each failed interview, every unanswered email, each rejection felt like another cut, slowly draining his confidence. His bank account was drying up, and so was his sense of self-worth. He began to wonder, who am I if I'm no longer a marketing professional? Do I even matter? One late night, in the depths of despair, Thomas wandered the streets aimlessly. Rain fell. Yellow streetlights reflected off the wet pavement. He sat under the awning of a closed shop, soaked and exhausted. That's when he noticed a homeless man a few feet away, curled up in a torn blanket. The man smiled, a soft, peaceful smile. Thomas couldn't understand it. How could someone with nothing, no home, no job, no security, still smile like that? He walked over. They started talking. The man's name was Carl, a former literature teacher whose life had unraveled. And yet, instead of bitterness, Carl spent his days writing, short stories, poems, fragments of thoughts, scribbled on scrap paper and shared with strangers passing by. Not for money, just to offer something, a thought, a laugh, a sliver of hope. Carl said, "You know, when I lost everything, I realized I still had the most valuable thing, time to think. And I discovered I was meant to write, not to possess." That night, Thomas couldn't sleep. Carl's words echoed in his mind. When you've lost everything, you finally have the freedom to begin, on your own terms. The next morning, Thomas did something he hadn't dared to do in 12 years. He opened a blank notebook, and he wrote, not marketing strategies or performance metrics, but raw, honest thoughts about fear, loss, and life's biggest question: what is my purpose? At first, it was just a few lines each day, but soon the words poured out. He wrote about his job loss, about Carl, about the small things he used to overlook. He shared these reflections on a simple blog. Nobody noticed at first, but one of his pieces got picked up by a university professor. Then a podcast host reached out for an interview. From that tiny blog, doors began to open. Articles, columns. Eventually, a book deal. His debut book, Finding Myself in the Dark. But the real miracle wasn't the attention. It just wasn't the money. It was that, for the first time in his life, Thomas felt alive. One day, while signing books at a small Brooklyn library, he noticed a man waiting at the end of the line. Gray hair, worn coat, familiar eyes. It was Carl. Thomas walked over and embraced him. He whispered, "If it weren't for that rainy night and your smile, I would have never known. I wasn't born to be a marketer. I was born to share stories." Carl smiled. "You didn't find your purpose by accident. You found it because you faced the storm and didn't run. And that's the twist of life, isn't it? You don't discover your true purpose when everything is comfortable, when life is predictable and safe. It's when you're stripped bare, when you've lost your titles, your routines, your sense of certainty, that you begin to hear the voice inside." Thomas once thought losing his job was the end. Turns out, it was just a comma. the beginning of a brand new chapter. So, if you're going through something painful right now, if it feels like life is working against you, remember, adversity doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to show you something you've been afraid to see. The question isn't, why is this happening to me? The real question is, what is this trying to teach me? You may not control what happens to you, but you do get to choose how you respond. You get to decide whether this pain is a dead end or a door. And if you haven't found your purpose yet, maybe you've been looking in the wrong places. Sometimes, your greatest purpose is hidden in your deepest wounds. If this story made you reflect, leave a comment below. If you've been through something hard and came out stronger, know this: you're far more powerful than you think. And if you know someone who's struggling right now, send them this video. It might be the spark they've been waiting for. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story if it touched you. Let's help more people discover the beauty on the other side of their struggles. And I'll see you in the next story, where every adversity becomes the doorway to purpose.